With great power comes great responsibility, a statement popularized by Spider Man in Marvel Comics. Power is the ability to overcome resistance on the part of others, to exert your influence, and to get the results that are consistent with your own interests and objectives. While influence is the power to make other people agree with your opinions or do what you want. Before coming into power, politicians make numerous promises to the public. They influence and manipulate them into thinking all their promises will be fulfilled. Therefore, political power is not only about persuasion, but also manipulation. A pleasant afternoon, Sir Jefferson Dean. A pleasant afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are the Group 1 of 1B, BSBAMM, and our assigned topic for today is politics and governance. For today's session, we will be demonstrating that politics plays power and influence. But before we go to our main highlight of discussion, let us first watch our prepared video about politics on how they play power and influence in our lives. Enjoy!
I, as your duly elected President of the Republic, use this power.
Matapos naman po ideklara ang batas militar sa buong Mindanao, sinabi ni Pangulong Duterte na posibleng ipatupad din ito sa buong bansa.
If we are to get out of this rut, we have to prioritize moral values.
Again, our assigned topic is politics and governance. For our thesis statement, politics plays power and influence. For the thesis statement background, in the past few decades in the Philippines, many politicians have ruled and gained power. However, until now, multiple politicians still use power to influence whether the outcomes are positive or negative for Filipino people. So now to finally introduce our topic, let us all welcome our speaker number one, Ms. Micaela Abulencia, to the virtual floor.
Thank you, Ms. Bakiran. Power has always been the most fundamental concept in the study of politics. Power is a powerful word with many meanings and uses. Powerful refers to someone who has a lot of influence over people in industry. Moreover, one of them is a political power. In our country, several decades have passed in our country and many politicians have held power. They have also had an impact on many Filipinos in our country, with both positive and negative effects. Having the ability to influence people is a huge responsibility in politics. So that is why today we will discuss and prove to all of you that the politics has a power to play and influence our country. And now, may I call Miss Antoinette Belicario, our speaker number 2, to the virtual floor state one major problem in our topic.
Thank you, Ms. Abolencia. In developing countries such as the Philippines, it has been proven that politics affect policy implementation through democratic measures as well as by force or coercion. In this sense, power can be viewed as something positive that is inherited or given for the sake of achieving humanistic objectives that will help and empower others. In fact, the former president of the Philippines, Rodrigo Roa Duterte, is in control of all executive departments, bureaus, and offices. Indeed, he employs his available powers to ensure that his administration ambitious build program is fully and effectively implemented. Perhaps some authorities abuse their power by employing coercive measures for personal gain. This includes severe punishment as well as strict monitoring, particularly of the coercive institution that operated under the declaration of martial law by former dictator Ferdinand Marcos. And now I'd like to call Mr. Kansas Gayandato, our third speaker to the virtual floor, to testify a strong proof of evidences.
Thank you for calling me Ms. Bilicaria. Now for proof of politics plays power and influence. We have two examples that shows the positive and negative influence of politics. The positive example is the Build program. It was pushed by the Duterte administration to combat the lack of infrastructure in our country. It aims to improve the economic performance of the Philippines, mobility and connectivity by building projects such as public transportations, roads, seaports, urban development, water resources, information communication technology, and health. Only people in power, especially in politics, can push big projects such as the Build program for the betterment of our country. The negative example of politics plays power influence is President Ferdinand Marcos' dictatorship over the Philippines. Late President Ferdinand E. Marcos declares Proclamation Number 1081 on September 23, 1972, placing the Philippines under martial law. In Ferdinand Marcos' rule, he shut down major public utilities, media outlets, arrested 4 senators and approximately 8,000 more individuals on the same day. Martial law ended 9 years later until January 17, 1981 with Proclamation Number 2045. This show how great of power influence politicians hold. That would be all for confirmation or proof of evidence. May I call on our speaker number 4, Ms. Bakiran, for the arguments.
Thank you, Mr. Kansas Gayandato. So they say politics do not have the power to influence the Filipino people. However, we argue that power, authority, and influence are all part of political organization that affects every Filipino citizen. That is because, according to Thelma Austin, a relative handful of well-known families have dominated politics in the Philippines. It is typical for a politician's wife, son, brother, and other relatives to run for the same or other government positions. Political dynasty is the term used to characterize this behavior. It demonstrates that there are too many political influences in the Philippines for politics to have a negative impact on our nation, and that political dynasties are more than just a reflection of family talent. Therefore, we can characterize a dynasty as corrupted by the power treatment effect, which states that holding political power for a more extended period increases the likelihood that they will do so in the future regardless of family traits. Significant political dynasties are now more often created as a business strategy rather than a public duty. Some utilize their money to pursue their own goals and pass on their wealth to the next generations. Also, they say politics of the Philippines takes place within a three-branch governmental system. However, we claim that the constitutional provision creates a strong presidency that controls politics and economic power in the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. It does make it challenging to impeach the president, notwithstanding their controversial and unethical political decision. Just like Susan Rose Ackerman stated, politicians have the incentives to have strengthened their power by weakening institutions meant to limit their influence and by establishing new ones that offer them more flexibility to function. Presidents are especially inclined to push the boundaries of their authority. Therefore, presidents may violate the legal and constitutional frameworks intended to serve as checks and balances in order to test their boundaries of their territory. Now, to sum it up all of our arguments, may I call Mr. Maximus Torres to the virtual floor, our speaker number 5.
Thank you, Ms. Bakira. To conclude, there have been periods of both growth and deterioration in Philippine politics, which has been characterized by strong tradition and emerging forces for change. Generally speaking, influence is better than power, but power is necessary. A power to give it limits for betterment of the country or abuse it. The two requirements will create ascendancy by means of persuading reasonings, inspiring appeals, or coalitions will all lead to gain trust in that authority. Power misleads people due to its appearance, but without power, there will be no change. As for the political dynasties, it has been a part of our political system, and they have been grown significantly during the past few decades. In short, it will be dominated again by a powerful individual or a familiar personality. Politicians are not only one involved in politics. Additionally, concerns those who are vying for the same power. As Prof. Julie Batilania said, people confuse power with authority, but authority is no guarantee of power.
So that ends our arguments. Again, we are the Group 1 of 1B BSBA-MM under Professor Jefferson Beatty. And thank you for listening. This is our references in APA 7th edition format. Thank you.